The message came at 3 in the morning. It was not a time when most humans were awake, but Captain never really slept. He sat in his small office at the Earth Defense Command building in Seoul. The city lights glowed through his window. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. When the emergency signal flashed on his screen, he sat up straight. The computer showed words in the universal translation format. Someone was asking for help. Someone very important. "This is Queen of the Empire," the message said. "My ship has been attacked. We are stranded in the Outer Reach sector. The Dominion surrounds us. I am requesting emergency assistance from any allied species. Please, we do not have much time." Read the message 3 times. He knew about the Empire. They were one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Their technology was far beyond anything Earth had created. Their queen was respected by hundreds of species across thousands of star systems, and now she was in danger. He also knew about the Dominion. They were conquerors. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not take. If they captured the queen, they would use her to control her entire empire. Billions of lives would suffer. Pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Admiral Park," he said. 5 minutes later, he was in a video call with the highest military commander on Earth. Admiral Park was an old woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had led Earth through 2 alien conflicts already. She did not waste time with small talk. "I saw the message," she said. "The Galactic Council is already discussing it." "What are they saying?" asked. "They are saying it is too dangerous. The fleet has 40 warships in that sector. No one wants to risk a fight." Felt anger rise in his chest. "So they will let her die." "They will let her become a prisoner," the Admiral said. Her voice was calm but cold. "The Council believes that a rescue mission would start a war with the Dominion. They are not willing to pay that price." "And Earth, what does Earth believe?" Admiral Park looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes seemed to study his face, searching for something. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "Earth believes that we do not abandon our friends," she said. "They helped us when they attacked our colonies 10 years ago. They did not ask permission from the Council. They simply came to help. Now it is our turn." Felt his heart beat faster. "You are authorizing a rescue mission." "I am authorizing you, Captain. Take your team, get the Queen, bring her home safely." The Admiral leaned closer to the camera. "But understand this. If you fail, Earth will deny any knowledge of your mission. You will be alone out there. No backup, no support, just you and your people." "I understand," said. "Good, you have 6 hours to launch. Do not waste them." The call ended, stood up from his chair. His body felt tired, but his mind was now fully awake. He had work to do. He made 4 calls in the next 30 minutes. Each call went to a different person. Each person answered immediately, even though it was the middle of the night. These were the members of his team. They were the best soldiers Earth had ever produced. The first call was to, she was a tactical genius. Her brain could process information faster than most computers. She had planned 17 successful missions in the past 5 years. Not one of them had failed. When told her about the Queen, she was silent for exactly 4 seconds. Then she said, "Send me the data. I will have a plan ready before we launch." The second call was to, he was a pilot. Not just any pilot, but the best pilot in Earth's entire fleet. He could fly anything with an engine. He had once guided a damaged transport ship through an asteroid field while enemy fighters chased him. He saved 300 passengers that day. When explained the mission, laughed. 40 warships. That sounds like fun. The third call was to, she was a combat medic. She had trained in the most advanced medical techniques from 3 different alien species. She could heal wounds that would kill any normal person, but she was more than a healer. She was also a soldier. She carried a rifle as easily as she carried her medical kit. "The Queen will be injured," she said when told her the situation. "I will bring everything I need." The fourth call was to, he was the heavy weapons specialist. He was a large man with a calm face and steady hands. He never spoke much, but when he did speak, people listened. He had held a defensive line against 200 enemy soldiers for 6 hours during the Battle of Station. When asked if he was ready, simply said, "Always." 4 hours later, the team gathered at a secret military base outside the city. The sun was just beginning to rise over the mountains. The air was cold and fresh. In front of them sat their ship. It was called the Silent Thunder. It was not a large ship. It was built for speed and stealth, not for fighting. Its black surface absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Its engines were almost completely silent. Most importantly, it had a special coating that made it nearly invisible to sensors. Walked around the ship, checking every part with his own eyes. He did not trust machines to do this work. "She is ready," he said finally, "beautiful and ready." Was already inside, setting up her tactical station. Dozens of screens showed maps, numbers, and data streams. She barely looked up when the others entered. Her fingers moved across the controls like a musician playing an instrument. Organized her medical supplies in the back of the ship. She had brought enough equipment to treat almost any injury, burn wounds, broken bones, radiation sickness, poison. She hoped she would not need most of it, but hope was not a strategy. Carried his weapons aboard one by one. A plasma rifle, a heavy machine gun, grenades of 3 different types, a personal shield generator. He placed each item in its proper storage space and then sat down in silence. Was the last to board. He stood at the entrance for a moment, looking back at Earth. The sky was turning orange and pink. Birds were singing in the nearby trees. It was beautiful. He wondered if he would see it again. Then he turned and walked inside. The door closed behind him. "Everyone ready?" he asked. 4 voices answered, "Ready." Sat in the captain's chair, "Take us up." The Silent Thunder rose from the ground without a sound. It climbed higher and higher until the base below looked like a small dot. Then it passed through the clouds. Then it left the atmosphere behind. Space surrounded them, cold and dark and infinite. The stars burned like tiny fires in the distance. Earth hung below them, a ball of blue and green and white. "Setting course for the outer reach sector," said. "Travel time is approximately 14 hours at maximum speed." "Do it," said. The ship jumped forward. Space stretched and bent around them as they entered faster-than-light travel. The stars became lines of light. Earth disappeared from view. Spoke without looking up from her screens. "I have been studying the fleet positions. They have formed a sphere around the Queen's ship. There are 42 warships in total. Each one carries between 50 and 200 soldiers." "That is a lot of enemies," said. "Yes," agreed. "But they have a weakness. They are spread out to cover every possible escape route. This means each ship is relatively alone. If we can slip past them without being detected, we can reach the Queen." "And if we are detected?" asked. Finally looked up. Her face was calm but serious. "Then we fight and probably die." The ship was quiet for a moment, then laughed again. "Good thing I am the best pilot in the galaxy." "You are the best pilot from Earth," corrected him. "Same thing," said with a grin. Allowed himself a small smile. His team was confident, maybe too confident, but confidence was better than fear. Fear made people hesitate, and hesitation would get them killed. "Get some rest," he told them. "We have 14 hours. I want everyone fresh when we arrive." The others nodded and moved to the small sleeping quarters at the back of the ship. Only stayed at her station, still studying the enemy positions. Knew she would not sleep. She never did before a mission. Her mind was too busy planning for every possible situation. He stayed in the captain's chair, watching the stars stream past. Somewhere ahead of them, a queen was waiting for rescue. Somewhere ahead of them, an army was waiting to stop them. He did not know if his team would succeed. He did not know if they would survive. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. They would try. They would fight with everything they had. They would show the galaxy what humans were capable of. Because that was what humans did. They did not give up. They did not surrender. They faced impossible odds and found a way to win. It was in their blood. It was in their history. It was in their very nature. The Dominion had never fought humans before. They did not know what was coming for them. But they would learn. Closed his eyes and let himself rest. In 14 hours, the real battle would begin. He needed to be ready. The silent thunder flew on through the darkness of space, carrying 5 humans toward their destiny. Behind them, Earth continued to spin. Its people woke up, went to work, lived their lives. Most of them did not know that a small team of their brothers and sisters was racing across the galaxy to save a queen they had never met. But if they had known, they would have been proud. Because Earth took care of its friends, and Earth never abandoned anyone in need. Not ever. The silent thunder dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a soft hum. The stars stopped stretching and became points of light again. Ahead of them, the outer reach sector spread out like a dark ocean. Leaned forward in his pilot seat, his eyes scanned the space in front of them. "I see them," he said quietly. Moved to stand behind him. Through the front window, he could see the fleet. The warships hung in space like a swarm of angry insects. Their hulls were dark gray and covered with weapons. Each ship was at least 10 times larger than the silent thunder. 42 ships, confirmed from her station. Just as the report said, they have formed a complete sphere around the target. "Where is the Queen's ship?" asked. Pointed at one of her screens. "There, in the center of the sphere, it is called the Royal Dawn. The ship is damaged but not destroyed. Life signs are still present." "How many?" asked. She had joined them at the front of the ship. Her medical kit was already strapped to her back. "Hard to say. The ships are blocking most of our scans, but at least 20 individuals are still alive on board. One of them has the biological signature of a queen." Felt relief wash over him. The queen was still alive. They were not too late, but getting to her would be the hard part. "What is the communication chatter like?" he asked. Listened through her earpiece for a moment. "They are getting impatient. Their commander is demanding that the queen surrender. He says he will destroy her ship if she does not open her doors in the next 3 hours. 3 hours, that was not much time. "What do you think?" asked. "Can you get us through?" The pilot studied the enemy formation with careful eyes. His fingers tapped against the control panel as he calculated distances and angles. Finally, he nodded slowly. "There are gaps," he said. "Small ones. The ships are watching for large fleets, not single small vessels. If I fly carefully and use the debris field to the east, I can probably slip between their sensor ranges." "Probably," repeated. He had come forward as well, carrying his plasma rifle. "Nothing is certain in war," said, "but I give us a 70% chance of reaching the Queen's ship without being detected." "And if we are detected?" Grinned. "Then I give us a 50% chance of reaching the Queen's ship anyway. The silent thunder is fast, very fast. Even fighters would have trouble catching us." Considered the odds. They were not great, but they were better than nothing. He had fought with worse chances before. "Do it," he said. "Take us in." His grin widened. "Everyone strap in. This is going to be interesting." The team returned to their seats and secured their safety belts. Watched through the window as guided the ship forward. They moved slowly at first, drifting toward a field of broken asteroids and destroyed ships. It was the remains of some ancient battle, now just floating garbage in the void. "Perfect cover," murmured. "The debris will confuse their sensors." He flew the silent thunder into the field with expert precision. Broken rocks tumbled past them on all sides. Pieces of destroyed ships scraped against their hull, but never let anything hit them directly. He moved through the chaos like water flowing through stones. "First patrol ship ahead," warned. "Distance 40,000 kilometers." could see it on the tactical screen. A destroyer was moving along the edge of the debris field. Its sensors swept back and forth, searching for threats. "Cutting all active systems," said, "going dark." The lights inside the silent thunder dimmed. The engine noise dropped to almost nothing. They were now running on minimal power, hopping to be too small and too quiet to notice. The destroyer moved closer. Its searchlights cut through the darkness of space. For a terrible moment, one of those lights swept directly across the silent thunder's position. Nobody breathed. The light moved on. The destroyer continued its patrol route. It had not seen them. Clear whispered, moving forward. They continued through the debris field for another hour. 3 more times they had to go dark and hide from passing patrols. 3 more times they escaped detection by the smallest of margins. Could feel sweat running down his back despite the cool air of the ship. Finally, they emerged from the debris field. Ahead of them was open space, and beyond that, surrounded by enemy warships, was the Royal Dawn. The flagship was a beautiful ship, even in its damaged state. Its hull was made of a silver metal that seemed to glow with inner light. Its shape was elegant and flowing, like a work of art rather than a machine of war. But black scorch marks covered its surface. Several sections had been torn open by weapons fire. It was clearly unable to move or fight. "She took heavy damage before they surrounded her," said. "Engines are offline. Weapons are offline. Shields are at minimum power. That ship is not going anywhere without serious repairs." "Can we dock with it?" asked. "There is an emergency airlock on the underside. It appears to be functional, but we will need to get past the inner ring of ships first." The inner ring consisted of 12 destroyers arranged in a tight circle around the Royal Dawn. They were much closer together than the outer ships. Their sensors overlapped, creating a web of detection that would be nearly impossible to avoid. "Studied the formation with narrowed eyes. That is a problem." "Can you get through?" asked. "Maybe, but not without being seen," pointed at the screen. "See how they are positioned. There is no gap large enough. No matter which path I take, at least one ship will detect us." The team was silent. They had come so far. They could see the Queen's ship right in front of them. But those last few kilometers might as well be a million. "What if we create a distraction?" suggested. Everyone turned to look at him. The big man rarely spoke during planning sessions. When he did, it was usually important. "Explain," said. Stood up and walked to the tactical screen. "We have emergency flares in our cargo hold, 12 of them. If we launch them in different directions, the ships will have to investigate. Their formation will break." "For how long?" asked. "Not long, maybe 5 minutes." 5 minutes is not enough time to dock and extract the Queen." "It is enough time to dock," said. "Once we are attached to the Royal Dawn, we can hide inside. The ships will search for whoever launched the flares. They will not immediately think to check the Queen's ship." Considered this. Her fingers danced across her controls as she ran calculations. It could work. The probability of success increases to approximately 65%. "That is better than our current options," said. He made his decision. "Prepare the flares. Get ready to move the moment there is an opening." The team moved quickly, went to the cargo hold and loaded the emergency flares into the external launchers, positioned the ship at the edge of the inner detection zone, and secured all loose equipment. "Ready," reported. "Ready," confirmed. Took a deep breath. Launch flares. 12 bright lights shot out from the silent thunder in different directions. They streaked across space like shooting stars, leaving trails of burning energy behind them. The sensors immediately detected them. Alarms began to sound across the enemy fleet. Ships started to move, chasing after the mysterious signals. The tight formation around the Royal Dawn began to break apart as destroyers raced to investigate. "Opening detected," announced. Between the third and fourth ships, Width is approximately 2 kilometers. Duration, estimated 4 minutes. Going in, said. The silent thunder shot forward at maximum speed. The sudden acceleration pushed everyone back in their seats. Stars blurred past the windows as they raced toward the gap. 2 minutes to the Royal Dawn, reported. Ship turning, warned. They may have seen us. I see them, said. His voice was calm but focused. Hold on. He banked the ship hard to the left, then dove down, then curved back up. The movements were so fast and precise that could barely follow them. The destroyer fired its weapons, but the shots passed harmlessly through the space where the silent thunder had been a second before. 1 minute to the Royal Dawn. More ships were turning now. They had realized something was wrong. Weapon ports were opening. Missiles were being loaded. 30 seconds. The Royal Dawn filled their entire view. Its silver hull gleamed in the starlight. The emergency airlock was visible beneath it, a small circle of reinforced metal. Impact in 10 seconds. Brace for docking. Flip the ship around at the last moment, using reverse thrusters to slow their approach. The silent thunder slammed against the Royal Dawn with a loud bang. Magnetic clamps engaged automatically, locking the two ships together. Docked, announced. We are attached. Cut all power, ordered. Complete shutdown, make us look like debris. The lights went out. The engines stopped. The silent thunder became just another piece of wreckage floating in space. From the outside, it would look like a small chunk of the Royal Dawn had broken off during the original attack. Through the window, they could see destroyers moving past them. Searchlights swept across the Queen's ship, but none of them stopped. None of them noticed the small human vessel attached to the hull. Slowly, the enemy ships returned to their positions. The formation reformed. The alert status was lowered. The commander decided that the flares must have been some kind of malfunction or desperate trick. He was half right. Inside, the silent thunder allowed himself to breathe again. Good work, everyone. We made it. For now, said. We are still surrounded by 42 enemy warships. Getting out will be even harder than getting in. One problem at a time, said. First, we find the Queen. He moved to the airlock and began to put on his tactical suit. The others did the same. Weapons were checked. Communication devices were tested. Everyone knew what they had to do. According to my scans, the Queen is on the command deck, said. That is approximately 200 meters from our current position. There are also enemy soldiers on the ship. How many? Asked. At least 30. They have sent boarding parties to try to capture the Queen. The guards are holding them off, but they are outnumbered. Then we need to move fast, said. He finished securing his helmet and picked up his rifle. You stay with the ship. Keep it ready for a quick escape. Understood, the pilot said. I will be waiting. Opened the airlock. A short corridor connected them to the Royal Dawn's emergency entrance. The ship's artificial gravity was still working, which made movement easier. Let's go, said. We have a Queen to save. He stepped forward into the alien ship and followed close behind. The corridor was dark and filled with smoke. Warning lights flashed on the walls. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear the sounds of gunfire. The battle for Queen had begun. The corridors of the Royal Dawn were beautiful, even filled with smoke and damage. The walls were made of the same silver metal as the hull, covered with delicate patterns that seemed to tell stories. Blue lights ran along the ceiling, though many of them flickered or had gone dark. Led his team forward carefully. His rifle was raised and ready. Every corner could hide an enemy. Every shadow could be a trap. Directions, he whispered. Turn left at the next junction. Then straight for 50 meters. We will reach a large chamber. That is where most of the fighting is happening. They moved in silence. Their boots made almost no sound on the metal floor. Years of training had taught them how to walk without being heard. Years of combat had taught them how to stay calm under pressure. As they approached the junction, raised his hand. The team stopped immediately. He had heard something. Footsteps, multiple sets coming from the right side of the junction. He pressed himself against the wall and held up 3 fingers, 3 enemies approaching. He pointed at and then at the opposite wall. The big man nodded and moved into position. The footsteps grew louder. Then 3 soldiers appeared at the junction. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces had no expressions. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness. They carried long rifles that hummed with energy. They never saw what hit them. Fired twice, dropping the first soldier before he could react. Stepped out and shot the second one in the chest. Threw a knife that caught the third one in the throat. All 3 enemies fell to the ground in less than 2 seconds. Clear said. They stepped over the bodies and continued forward. The sounds of battle were getting louder now. Gunfire, explosions, screams in alien languages. The guards are fighting hard, observed. But they are losing. My scans show only 8 defenders still active. The forces number 23. Those odds are about to change, said quietly. They reached the entrance to the large chamber. It was a throne room of some kind. High ceilings rose above them, supported by elegant pillars. At the far end of the room sat a magnificent throne made of silver and blue crystal, and on that throne sat Queen. Had seen pictures of royalty before, but nothing had prepared him for the real thing. The Queen was nearly 3 meters tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Her face was both beautiful and strange, with large silver eyes and delicate features. She wore robes of white and gold that flowed around her like water. Even wounded and surrounded by enemies, she sat with perfect dignity. Between the throne and the entrance, a fierce battle was taking place. 8 guards, dressed in silver armor, fought against more than 20 soldiers. The guards were skilled, but they were outnumbered and exhausted. Several of them were already wounded. "We need a plan," said quickly. "If we just charge in, we will be caught in crossfire from multiple directions." Studied the room. The pillars provided good cover. The soldiers were focused on the guards and had not noticed the humans at the entrance. That gave them an advantage, but only for a moment. Take the left side. Use your heavy weapon to pin down the main group. Move right and provide support to the guards. Stay at the entrance and cover our backs. I will go straight for the Queen. Understood, they said together. On my signal 3, 2, 1, go. They burst into the room from different directions. Opened fire with his plasma rifle, sending massive bolts of energy into the largest group of soldiers. 3 of them were killed instantly. The others scattered for cover, suddenly facing a threat they had not expected. Sprinted to the right side of the room and dropped behind a fallen pillar. From there, she began picking off soldiers with precise shots. Each bullet found its target. Each enemy that fell was one less threat to the Queen. Ran straight up the center of the room. Soldiers turned to face him, but he was moving too fast. He fired as he ran, hitting 2 enemies without slowing down. A third soldier swung at him with a blade, but he ducked under the attack and kept moving. The guards stared in confusion at the humans who had suddenly appeared. They had never seen these creatures before. They did not know if they were friends or enemies. "We are here to help," shouted. He did not know if they could understand him, but his actions spoke clearly enough. He shot another soldier who had been about to kill a wounded guard. One of the guards, larger than the others and wearing a golden mark on his armor, seemed to understand. He shouted something in his own language. The other guards responded by fighting with renewed energy. Human and worked together, pushing back against the invasion. The battle was intense but brief. The soldiers had been winning when it was 20 against 8, but now it was 20 against 12, and 4 of those 12 were humans who fought like nothing they had ever seen. Advanced steadily, his heavy weapon cutting down enemies with each shot. moved between fallen guards, healing the wounded while still firing at the enemy, protected the entrance, making sure no reinforcements could arrive, and fought his way through the remaining soldiers like a force of nature. In 5 minutes, it was over. The last soldier fell to the ground with a hole in his chest. The throne room fell silent except for the heavy breathing of the survivors. Looked around at the destruction. 7 soldiers were still alive, but they had dropped their weapons and surrendered. The rest were dead. On the side, 3 guards had been killed and 4 were wounded. Only 1 remained completely unhurt. The guard with the golden mark approached. Up close, he was even more impressive. His armor was covered with battle damage, and blue blood dripped from a wound on his arm, but he stood tall and proud. "Human," he said. His voice was deep and strange, but the translation device in his helmet converted the words perfectly. "You came for our queen." "Yes," said. "We received her distress signal. We came to help." The guard studied him for a long moment. The Galactic Council refused to send aid. They said it was too dangerous. "Earth does not answer to the Council in matters like this. We take care of our friends." Something that might have been a smile crossed the guard's face. "I am Commander, leader of the Queen's personal guard, or what remains of it. Captain of Earth's Special Rescue Division. We need to get the Queen off this ship as soon as possible. More soldiers will come." "I know, but the Queen," looked back at the throne. His expression was worried. "She was injured in the initial attack. She cannot walk." Followed his gaze. Now that the fighting was over, he could see that the Queen was not just sitting on her throne. She was slumped against it, one hand pressed against her side. Her white and gold robes were stained with darker colors. Her silver eyes were half closed with pain. He called. The medic was already moving. She ran up the steps to the throne and knelt beside the Queen. Her hands moved quickly, scanning and examining. Her face grew serious as she worked. "Energy weapon wound to the torso," she reported. "Significant internal damage. She has been bleeding for hours." She looked up at. "I can stabilize her, but she needs proper surgery soon. Very soon." "How soon?" 3 hours, maybe 4 after that. Did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Queen opened her eyes. They focused on with effort. "You are human," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. "Yes, Your Majesty. I am a medic from Earth. Please stay still. I am going to help you." "I have heard stories about humans." The Queen winced as began treating her wound. "They say you are stubborn, that you never give up." Smiled gently. "The stories are true, Your Majesty. Now please save your strength. We have a long journey ahead." The Queen nodded slightly and closed her eyes again. Continued working, applying advanced medical technology to stop the bleeding and reduce the pain. It was not a permanent fix, but it would keep the Queen alive for now. Approached, her face was grim. "We have a problem. I am detecting movement throughout the ship. The command has realized that something is wrong. They are sending reinforcements." "How many?" "At least 50 soldiers. They will be here in approximately 15 minutes." Looked at their small group. 4 humans, 1 commander, 3 wounded guards, and a Queen who could not walk. Against 50 enemy soldiers, their chances were not good. "Can we get back to our ship?" he asked. "The path we came through is blocked. The reinforcements are coming from that direction." "Is there another way?" Studied her device. "There is an alternate route through the engineering section. It is longer, but it might be clear." Commander stepped forward. "I know this ship. The engineering section has emergency escape pods. They were damaged in the attack, but perhaps your ship could pick us up if we launch them." Shook his head. "Our ship is small. It cannot carry all of us plus escape pods. We need to reach our docking point." He thought quickly. "Can any of your wounded walk?" Spoke to his soldiers in their own language. 2 of them nodded and struggled to their feet. The 3rd remained on the ground, unconscious. I will carry, said, picking up the unconscious guard. He is my brother, I will not leave him. Nodded with respect. You carry the queen, be gentle but fast. The big man walked up to the throne. He looked at Queen for a moment, then carefully lifted her in his arms. She weighed almost nothing to him, despite her height. His armor protected them both. I have her, said simply. Then let's move, lead the way, stay close to the queen. I will take the rear with Commander. The group began moving through the ship, guided them through corridors and doorways, always choosing the path that avoided enemy patrols. Sometimes they had to stop and hide while soldiers passed nearby. Sometimes they had to climb through damaged sections where the floor had collapsed. Through it all, Queen drifted in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, she watched the humans with curious silver eyes. She had never seen creatures like them before, small and soft, without claws or scales or armor. Yet they moved with confidence through danger. They protected her as if she were one of their own. Why? She whispered once, so quietly that only could hear. Why what, Your Majesty? Why did you come? Your people owe us nothing. Was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. You helped Earth once, when they attacked our colonies. You did not ask for anything in return. You just came because it was the right thing to do. He adjusted his grip to make her more comfortable. We are the same. We help those who need help. That is who we are. The queen studied his face. In his eyes, she saw something she had not expected. Not greed or ambition or calculation, just simple determination, simple kindness. You are strange creatures, she said, strange and wonderful. Then she closed her eyes again and let herself rest. She was safe in the arms of a human warrior, and somehow, despite everything, she believed that she would survive. They continued through the ship, moving ever closer to their escape. But the forces were closing in behind them, and the hardest part of their mission was yet to come. The engineering section of the Royal Dawn was a maze of pipes and machines. Emergency lights cast everything in a red glow. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burned metal. Somewhere nearby, a damaged system made a constant hissing sound. Led the group through the chaos with her device held in front of her. The path was longer than expected. Damage from the initial attack had blocked several corridors, forcing them to take detours. Every minute that passed brought the reinforcements closer. How much farther? Asked. 200 meters to our docking point, but stopped walking. Her face went pale as she looked at her screen. But what? Soldiers, 20 of them. They are already at our ship. His heart sank. The enemy had figured out how they got in. They were waiting for them. Is still alive. Checked her readings. The ship systems are still online. No signs of breach. They have not gotten inside yet, but they will soon. Commander moved to stand beside. His unconscious brother still hung over his shoulder. 20 soldiers in a defensive position. We cannot fight through that with wounded to protect. No, agreed. We need another approach. He looked at his team, stood solid as a mountain, still carrying Queen with care, had her medical kit in one hand and her pistol in the other, was already calculating options on her device. The 3 guards, 2 walking wounded and 1 unconscious, watched the humans with exhausted eyes. I will go first, said suddenly, alone. Everyone turned to look at him. I can give the queen to the commander, then I will attack from the front, draw their attention. While they focus on me, the rest of you can approach from the side corridor. He pointed at the map on screen. There, that maintenance passage, it connects to the docking area from the left. That is suicide, said, 20 soldiers against 1. Looked at him calmly. I have faced worse odds. He is not exaggerating, said. But I do not like this plan. We should stay together. With respect, Captain, we cannot. His voice was firm. If we all attack from one direction, they will cut us down before we reach the ship. If we split up, we have a chance. I am the strongest fighter here. I should be the one to draw their fire. nodded slowly. The mathematics support his plan. If engages the enemy directly, their formation will focus on him. This creates a window of approximately 30 to 40 seconds for us to approach from the side. It is our best probability of success. Wanted to argue, he wanted to find another way, but he knew his team. He knew. The man had never failed them before, and he was right about the tactical situation. Fine, said heavily, but you stay alive, that is an order. Actually smiled, it was a rare sight. Yes, Captain. He gently transferred Queen to Commander. The leader now carried both the Queen and his brother, one on each shoulder. It was a heavy burden, but he bore it without complaint. Your Majesty, said softly, we will see you safely home. The Queen opened her eyes. She looked at the human who had carried her so carefully through danger. What is your name, warrior? Your Majesty. I will remember it always. Bowed his head slightly. Then he turned and walked down the corridor toward the enemy position. He did not look back. Led the rest of the group to the maintenance passage. It was narrow and dark, barely wide enough for them to move single file. Pipes ran along the walls and ceiling. They had to crouch to fit through some sections. Stay quiet, whispered. We move when we hear engage. They waited in the darkness. Seconds felt like hours. The Queen's breathing was shallow and weak. One of the wounded guards was struggling to stay conscious. Time was running out. Then they heard it, the thunder of heavy weapon, the screams of soldiers, the crash of bodies hitting metal. Go, ordered. They burst out of the maintenance passage into the docking area. The scene before them was incredible. Stood in the center of the room like a war god from ancient legend. His plasma rifle blazed in his hands, sending massive bolts of energy into the enemy formation. Soldiers scattered for cover, but there was no cover strong enough. The walls behind them exploded. The floor beneath them melted. Everything aimed at was destroyed. 7 soldiers were already dead. 5 more were wounded. The remaining 8 were trying to regroup, but they were clearly terrified. They had never seen anything like this human who walked toward them without fear, taking their best shots and not falling. His armor was scorched and dented. Blue sparks flew where enemy fire had damaged his shields. But he kept moving. He kept firing. He was unstoppable. Contact right, shouted. Spun and fired at 3 soldiers who had tried to flank them. 2 went down immediately. The 3rd managed to raise his weapon, but shot him before he could fire. Move to the ship, commanded. Get the Queen inside. The commander ran for the silent thunder with his precious burdens. The 2 walking guards followed, firing at any enemy who came too close. Covered them from behind, her pistol never missing. Had seen them coming. The ship's ramp was already down, and the pilot stood at the top with a rifle in his hands. He fired several shots over their heads, hitting enemies they had not even seen. Get in, he shouted. We are leaving. Carried the Queen and his brother up the ramp. The other guards followed, was next, then. Turned to look for. The big man was still fighting in the center of the room. Only 4 enemy soldiers remained alive, but more were coming. Could hear their footsteps in the corridors behind him. The 50 reinforcements had arrived. You fall back. The heavy weapons specialist fired one last shot, killing another soldier, then turned and ran. He was fast for a man of his size. Energy bolts flew past him as the new arrivals opened fire. One shot hit his shoulder. Another hit his leg. He stumbled but did not fall. Ran to meet him. He grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the ship. Behind them, the docking area filled with enemy soldiers. Dozens of weapons aimed at the 2 humans. Close the ramp, screamed. Hit the control. The ramp began to rise, pushed up the slope and then jumped after him. Energy bolts struck the closing ramp, but none found their targets. The hatch sealed shut with a solid thunk. Inside the silent thunder, everything was chaos. The Queen lay on the medical bed while worked desperately to stabilize her. Commander stood over his unconscious brother, whispering words in his own language. The two wounded guards had collapsed against the wall, exhausted beyond measure. "Get us out of here," shouted. The pilot was already in his seat. "Hold on to something." The magnetic clamps released. The silent thunder dropped away from the Royal Dawn and immediately dove toward the debris field below. Through the windows, they could see warships turning to pursue them. "They have seen us," reported from her station. "Multiple ships closing. Distance, 15 kilometers. They will be in weapons range in 2 minutes." Laughed. It was not a nervous laugh. It was the laugh of a man who was about to do something incredible. "2 minutes is forever," he said. "Watch this." He pushed the engines to maximum power. The silent thunder leaped forward like a wild animal released from a cage. The stars outside became streaks of light. The pursuing ships fell behind, but only for a moment. "They are launching fighters," said. 60 small craft. They are much faster than the destroyers." "I see them." Hands danced across the controls, beginning evasive maneuvers. The silent thunder twisted and spun through space in ways that should have been impossible. Up became down. Left became right. The ship moved in 3 dimensions at once, never staying on the same course for more than a second. Grabbed a support bar and held on tight. The gravity compensators could not keep up with movements. Everything not secured was flying around the cabin. One of the guards was thrown against the wall. Commander shielded his brother with his own body. "Sorry," called out, not sounding sorry at all. "It will get worse before it gets better." Energy bolts streaked past the windows as the fighters opened fire, dodged each one with millimeter precision. He flew between 2 fighters so close that their wings nearly touched. He used asteroids as cover, spinning around them at speeds that made calculations impossible. 15 fighters destroyed by collision, reported. "They cannot match your movements." Of course they cannot. Pulled the ship into a vertical climb, then suddenly reversed direction. 3 more fighters crashed into each other trying to follow. "I am the best pilot in the galaxy." From Earth, corrected weakly from across the cabin. "Same thing." The debris field was thinning now. They were almost through, but a wall of warships waited on the other side. The destroyers had repositioned to block their escape route. "Multiple targets ahead," warned. "They are forming a barrier. There is no way through." Studied the formation for exactly half a second. There is always a way through. He aimed the silent thunder directly at the largest destroyer in the formation. The massive warship grew larger and larger in their front window, its weapons charged with deadly energy. Shouted, "What are you doing?" "Trust me, Captain." The destroyer fired. A beam of pure destruction lanced toward them. At the last possible moment, rolled the ship 90 degrees and dove. The beam passed so close that it scorched the top of their hull. Then they were past the destroyer, so close that they could see the rivets on its armor. More beams fired from other ships, but they were afraid of hitting their own vessels. The silent thunder weaved between the warships, using their own formation against them. Flew through gaps that should not have existed, exploited angles that physics. And then suddenly they were through. Open space stretched before them. The fleet was behind them, scrambling to turn and pursue but already too far away to catch up. "Setting course for space," announced. "Maximum speed. We will arrive in approximately 8 hours." Let go of the support bar and nearly fell to the floor. His arms were shaking from holding on so tightly. Around him, the rest of the team was in similar states of shock and relief. "That was started." "Incredible," finished. Turned around in his seat and grinned. His face was covered in sweat, but his eyes were bright with joy. "I told you, best pilot in the galaxy." This time, nobody corrected him. The 8 hours of travel passed slowly. Everyone was exhausted, but few could sleep. The adrenaline from the battle and escape still ran through their veins. The mission was not over yet. Worked constantly on Queen. The monarch had lost a lot of blood, and her body was failing in ways that human medicine had never dealt with before, but adapted. She studied the Queen's biology in real time, learning how her organs functioned, which medications would help and which would harm. It was the most challenging medical case of her career. Her heart rhythm is strange, muttered to herself. 3 chambers instead of 4, and her blood carries oxygen differently. I need to adjust the treatment. Commander watched over her shoulder, unable to help but unwilling to leave his Queen's side. His brother had regained consciousness and was resting comfortably with the other wounded guards, but could not rest until he knew his Queen would survive. "Can you save her?" he asked quietly. Did not look up from her work. "I do not know. I am doing everything I can, but her injuries are severe and I am not familiar with physiology. Our doctors could help if we reach home in time." "That is the plan, just keep her alive until then." Injected another medication into the Queen's arm. "Talk to her, keep her mind engaged, it will help." Nodded and knelt beside the medical bed. He took the Queen's hand in his and began speaking softly in their native language. Words of comfort, words of hope, words of loyalty. In the pilot's seat, monitored their course and watched for pursuit. The fleet had tried to follow them, but their ships were not fast enough. The silent thunder had built too much of a lead. They were safe for now. "No contacts on sensors," reported. "We are clear." Nodded and allowed himself to relax slightly. He sat down in the captain's chair and looked around at his team. They were all battered and tired. Armor was almost destroyed. Hands were covered in blue blood. His equipment was damaged from the rough escape, had dark circles under his eyes from pure concentration. But they were alive, all of them, and so was the Queen. "Good work," everyone said. "We made it." "Not yet," corrected. "We are not safe until we deliver the Queen to her people." "We will," promised. "We did not come this far to fail at the end." The hours passed. Continued her work, occasionally calling for help to hold equipment or hand her supplies. Served as her assistant despite his own wounds, his steady hands proving useful for delicate procedures. Analyzed the data they had gathered on forces, preparing a report that would help future missions. Queen drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes she murmured words in her own language. Sometimes she opened her silver eyes and looked at the humans around her with wonder. Once, she reached out and touched face with cold fingers. "You fight death itself for me," she whispered. "A stranger, an alien, why?" Smiled gently and continued her work. "Because every life has value, Your Majesty. Yours is not worth more or less than anyone else's. You needed help. We were able to give it." Such simple reasoning, yet my own people, the Galactic Council, they calculated the risks and decided I was not worth saving. Humans are not good at that kind of calculation. We see someone in trouble, we help. It is in our nature. The Queen was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was stronger. "I think I understand now why the other species fear you, why they respect you, why they cannot predict what you will do." "And what do you think, Your Majesty?" "I think the galaxy is fortunate that humans are kind." She closed her eyes. "If you were not, if you used your strength only for conquest, nothing could stop you." Did not have an answer for that. She simply continued her work, keeping the Queen alive 1 minute at a time. After 7 hours, announced that they were approaching space. The territory was marked by a border of stations and patrol ships. As soon as they crossed the line, they would be under the protection of the Empire. "Incoming communications," said. "Multiple channels, they are hailing us." "Put it through," ordered. A voice filled the ship. It spoke in the universal language, translated by their systems. "Unknown vessel, this is Border Command. Identify yourself and state your purpose." Stood and moved to the communication panel. "This is Captain of Earth's Special Rescue Division. We are carrying Queen aboard our ship. She is wounded and requires immediate medical attention." There was a long pause. Then the voice returned, this time filled with urgency. "Repeat your last transmission. Did you say Queen?" "Confirmed. We rescued her from forces in the Outer Reach sector. Her condition is critical." Another pause. Then a different voice came through. This one was deeper, older, filled with authority. "Human vessel. This is High Admiral Torin of the Royal Fleet. We received reports that our queen was captured. How do we know this is not a trap?" Commander stepped forward. "High Admiral, this is Commander of the Queen's personal guard. The humans are telling the truth. They came to our aid when no one else would. They fought through an enemy fleet to save our queen. Please, she needs help immediately." The Admiral's voice softened. "You are alive?" "Yes, sir, barely, but the Queen, she does not have much time." "Understood. Human vessel, you are cleared to enter space. A medical ship will meet you at the border. Do not reduce speed." "Thank you," Admiral said. "We are on our way." The silent thunder crossed into territory. Within minutes, a massive ship appeared alongside them. It was white and elegant, marked with medical symbols in the style. A docking tube extended from its side and connected to the human vessel. Doctors rushed aboard. They wore robes of white and silver, and they carried equipment that was far more advanced than anything had ever seen. They surrounded the Queen and began their work, speaking rapidly to each other in their own language. The lead doctor, an older female with kindness in her silver eyes, stopped to speak with. "You kept her alive, with crude human technology and limited knowledge of our biology. How?" Shrugged wearily. "I learned as I went, made a lot of educated guesses, probably made mistakes too." The doctor shook her head in amazement. "You made no mistakes. Your treatment was inspired. She should have died hours ago. You gave her the time we needed to reach her." "I did what I could." "You did more than that, human. You did the impossible." The doctor bowed her head respectfully. "The people are in your debt." The Queen was transferred to the medical ship. The guards went with her, including Commander and his brother. Before he left, turned back to the human team. "I do not know how to thank you," he said. "You risked everything for our Queen, for our empire. Why?" Stepped forward and extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. "Because it was the right thing to do. Because Earth does not abandon its friends." Took his hand and gripped it firmly. "Then Earth has made more friends today. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, the Empire will answer. Just take care of your Queen. That is thanks enough." Nodded and released his hand. Then he turned and walked through the docking tube to join his people. The tube retracted, and the medical ship pulled away, speeding toward the heart of space. The silent thunder remained in place for a moment. The team stood at the windows, watching the medical ship disappear into the distance. The mission was complete. The Queen was safe. They had done what no one thought possible. "Setting course for Earth," said finally. "Travel time 16 hours. "Take us home," said. The ship turned and began its journey back. Space stretched out before them, vast and empty and beautiful. Behind them, the Empire buzzed with news of the Queen's rescue. Word spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. The humans had done it. 5 warriors from a small planet had challenged an entire fleet and won. 3 days later, Queen woke up in her palace on the. She was weak but alive. Her doctors told her that she had come very close to death. They also told her about the humans who had saved her. She requested a communication link to Earth. The message she sent was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species, every planet, every ship received her words. "I am Queen of the Empire. 3 days ago I was captured by the Dominion. I was wounded and trapped. I called for help and the Galactic Council refused. They said the risk was too great." She paused and let her words sink in. "But Earth did not refuse. Earth sent 5 of its warriors to save me. 5 humans against 42 warships. 5 humans against thousands of soldiers, and they succeeded. Her silver eyes looked directly into the camera, carrying her message to every corner of the galaxy. Let this be known to all species. Earth is not just a member of the galactic community. Earth is a friend worth having. They do not calculate the odds before helping others. They do not ask what they will gain. They simply do what is right. She smiled, and despite her weakness, her face glowed with warmth. To Captain, Pilot, Tactician, Medic, and Warrior, the Empire thanks you. I thank you. My life belongs to you, and through me, the loyalty of my entire people. The message ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched and listened. Many had doubted humans before. Many had dismissed them as primitive or dangerous. But now they saw something different. They saw courage. They saw loyalty. They saw the very best that any species could offer. On Earth, the 5 warriors did not see the broadcast. They were too busy sleeping in their own beds, enjoying the simple pleasure of being home. They did not think of themselves as heroes. They had done their duty, nothing more. But the galaxy would remember. And when danger came again, when someone called for help and everyone else looked away, the galaxy would know who to call. Earth's warriors, humanity's finest. They would be ready. Always.